in favor, say aye. Aye.
I make a motion to the consent agenda.
So I don't see anything else. First prizes. So full. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Public input.
Somebody.
We're good. Nomination?
Banana.
What's that?
We're good here.
Okay,
Banana.
for now.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to nominate all four, right?
Second. Okay, we have motion made, seconded to nominate Robert Goodrich, Conservation Commission, Jane Johnson, Conservation Commission alternate, Wally Smith, Conservation Commission alternate, and Steve Russell to the Energy Commission. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And right into DOT, CHA Solutions. Welcome.
Well, good evening, Chairman, Select Board, members of the public. My name is Dave Smith. I work for New Hampshire DOT, and we wanted to come before you tonight just to give a presentation for our project Route 101. We're working with Stefan as part of our work group, and with that coordination collaboration, he asked that we come and present the project to you folks to give you an awareness of the project, the status, and so forth. And so that's what we are here to do. I have to my right Ellen Moshier. She works for CHA Consulting, a keen firm, is working to support us with the project and do the heavy lifting. They're the design firm that we've contracted with to do the heavy lifting, as I mentioned. So we'll be sharing in the presentation tonight for you. So I think you all know the corridor. We're in Keene. We're just to the southwest of the city of Keene on Route 101. We are east of Optical Ave, and we are just about at the tie-in Marlborough Street, used to tie in Route 101. And we progressed from that point about a mile to the east, just past Branch Road. And we also progressed through, of course, the Swanzey Factory Road intersection, across the Route 101 bridge, over the Branch River. We do have some work proposed along Swanzey Factory Road as well, that we'll talk about, as well as connecting, of course, to Thompson Road and then Branch Road at those intersections. We've had a fair amount of outreach already of the project that we'll share tonight in the presentation. As far as an agenda, this is very consistent with what we've shared with the public on 2 occasions, as well as the city of Keene. We've gone through the welcome introductions. We'll talk about our project development team and our working group. We'll talk about the project, give an overview of the project and the scope of that work. We'll talk about our studies to date. As you can imagine, this being a federal funded project, we have a lot of requirements that we need to complete in order to progress the project forward. We'll talk about our preliminary design efforts, the construction, and our schedule as we progress through with design and into construction. So we'll talk about that tonight as well. So our project development team, again, comprised of me as the lead from the New Hampshire DOT. I also have Hans Weber, who's our design engineer, not with us tonight, but he's with us. He's on a day-to-day basis working with us to advance the project. We've introduced Ellen Moshier from CHA. She's their project manager. We work hand in hand to develop the project and bring it forward. On Ellen's team, she also has Don Pirelli. He's the lead engineer for them, and Rob Faulkner, who's a principal with CHA, many years experience, and also working to support our advancement on the project and the team. We've also worked with the city of Keene very closely. Don Lucier, Public Works Director, has been very instrumental in giving us good guidance and support for the project as we progress. We've also worked with JB Mack, the Assistant Director from the Southwest Regional Planning Commission, and Stefan as well as just the Assistant Town Planner here in Swanzey. So the purpose of that working group is to give us that local connection, right? The boots on the ground, those folks that are in touch most with the needs of the project and the community that we're progressing this project with. So that's what the project work group does for us. We also have on that work group a representative from the DOT District 4 engineer, now Frank Lindenberger, who's with us as well. So just to round that out and give us that local support. So I mentioned the public outreach we've had in the past. We have advanced a fair amount. We've had 2 public informational meetings in Keene back in early 2004 and at the end of 2004, February and December, to present the project, to present the scope of work, very much like we're presenting to you folks this evening. Share in the details of the improvements. We solicited some thoughts from the folks in Keene as to what they thought the project should entail as well, just to make sure that we're striving to hit the mark with the project, the improvements, which we'll touch on here in a minute as well. So City of Keene, we're progressing to meet with them later this month. That Municipal Services, Facilities and Infrastructure Group, if you're familiar with that committee or standing committee in Keene, we're presenting to them on the 26th. From a say an environmental perspective, we've consulted with both our natural resource agencies and the cultural resource agencies, environmental groups that work to support us and collaborate with us on development of the project. That could be the Fish and Game folks, Army Corps of Engineers, and those types of groups that also touch on the cultural side of things, the historic aspects, and those aspects of the project. We also presented to the Southwest Regional Planning Commission back in early January, just to give those folks an update. So we're making sure we're doing our diligence relative to putting the word out relative to the project, collaborating with all the folks in the area. And then we've also had meetings with the butters, with property owners along the corridor, with projects like this, which is a relatively larger project. And the nature of the work, there's always impacts to abutters, property owners, and so we've been working to meet with those folks as well. Create that goodwill, make sure we're doing our diligence to make sure that they're aware of those specific impacts as well as improvements on the corridor. So, so with that opening, I'll turn to Ellen, and Ellen can take it from here. We'll get into more of the details, and we will. So subsequent to this, our presentation, we'll answer any questions you folks may have. And certainly progress in that fashion.
Great. So again, I'm Ellen Moshier with CHA. I'm the project manager. So as Dave mentioned, the project starts just east of Optical Avenue along Route 101 and continues east past Branch Road. There's 2 key intersections within the project, which include the intersection of Swanzey Factory Road and the intersection of Branch Road. Both those intersections are unsignalized today. And the Branch River Bridge is also included in our project area. So the need for the project comes about because there's a need to rehabilitate for pavement conditions that exist today. Currently, the state is doing some patching and repairing this winter, and they'll actually be repaving the road in advance of our project this coming spring. Another need of the project is to address poor drainage. There's country style drainage out there and no stormwater treatment. There's a need to make structural repairs at the Branch River Bridge. That bridge is on the state's red list currently. There's a need to improve intersection at Swanzey Factory Road intersection. And there's also a need to address challenges for pedestrians and bicycles. So the purpose of the project will be to provide that pavement rehabilitation that we need. We will be removing a concrete slab that is currently under the pavement. It's about 20 feet wide. We will be improving drainage and providing catchment for stormwater. We will be widening the shoulders to provide 5-foot shoulders to better accommodate pedestrians and bicycles. The project will also address structural needs at the bridge and improve intersection operations at the Swanzey Factory Road intersection. So Route 101 is 1 lane in each direction today. Shoulder widths vary, but generally it's about 28 feet wide. With the project, we'll be maintaining 12-foot travel lanes in each direction, but widening out those shoulders to formalize 5-foot shoulders on both sides of the street. So one of the things that's unique about this project is really the constraints along the corridor due to the proximity of the Branch River and also the private properties along the corridor. So as shown here, we're very much constrained as far as widening the road even further. It was asked through the public process that we look at adding sidewalks and bike lanes, and really because of the resources out here, we're not able to achieve that with the project. In addition, the project does not connect to any facilities on either end of Route 101. So one thing we did a deep dive in as a team was to look at potentially realigning Swanzey Factory Road. So initially, we had 5 concepts. 3 of those included a new bridge over the Branch River, shown here as alternative 3, 4A, 4B. We also looked at keeping the road where it is today and adding a signal to mitigate the sight distance issues and improve safety. And we also looked at creating a new corridor behind the fastener mill, which is along some state right of way to connect to the east. So through the public process and through our working group meetings, we vetted those concepts. Alternative 2 is highly favored. This would create an at-grade connection behind the fastener mill. We looked at several different alignments of this, but essentially we are moving forward with alternative 2C, which pushes the roadway away from the fastener mill building, which does require some cuts into the slope there. At the top of the screen, you'll see the circle. That will be a future roundabout that we are looking at. That was something that was highly favored by both the public and the working group to control traffic operations.
Ellen, where is Jay Blanchard's building? In that,
Right here.
just for point of reference.
Yep, Jay Blanchard's building is right here.
Yeah, we'll share the detailed plan, but get into that.
Yeah. Yeah, and we can give more insight relative to Jay Blanchard and his situation. Thanks.
So a little bit more about the Route 101 bridge. It was built in 1933. As I mentioned, it is on the state's red list. It's also eligible for the National Register since it was part of the original historic development of the state highway. Essentially, the bridge, we did some due diligence on the bridge. We determined that the concrete is sound out there. However, we saw some areas of deterioration on the underside, which is shown here. So we recommended some non-destructive testing. So essentially that took some cores from the bridge. The concrete cores were then examined by the lab, and the results came back that the bridge has alkali silica reaction, or ASR. And essentially, in layman's terms, this is known as concrete cancer for a bridge. The gel-like substance that expands, it cracks, and we're not able to rehabilitate the bridge due to this substance. So as a result, we are proposing that the bridge be replaced entirely as part of the project. So to jump into the design, I know this is a little hard to see on the screen, but this is what our preliminary design set looks like. You'll see that the road is in yellow, the sidewalks are shown, sorry, not the sidewalks, the shoulders are shown in brown, those 5-foot shoulders. And then you'll see the impact areas, slope impacts, shown in sort of the neon green. So starting right here, this is the start of our project near Marlborough Street. Shown here is the Proust Bridge. That's a connection that the city of Keene is proposing in the future to connect that rail trail over the Stone Arch Bridge. We are not constructing that as part of our project. However, we're aware that that construction is planned, and we're not doing anything that would impact that from happening in the future. As you continue east, we do have some resource area impacts as a result of the widening. As you continue down the road, we're showing the new bridge at Branch River. And then you'll see we're discontinuing Swanzey Factory Road in its existing alignment. We do have some BMPs, or best management practices, for some stormwater treatment proposed in those areas. The road will be discontinued, and instead we're showing this roundabout that will be constructed here that will create this new connection to Swanzey Factory Road. So this is the property we mentioned before, Jay Blanchard's property. We are aware that it is significantly impacted by the roundabout. Right now, that building does sit within the state's right of way. So Davis had ongoing conversations with him about essentially the impacts to his building. So we'll continue to have those discussions as the design progresses, but he is very much aware of these plans and the impacts. So moving along Route 101 to the east, we do have some homes that sit up on the hillside. So we're really trying to minimize impacts along that side. At the same time, we are challenged by the Goodrich River along this side of the road, but we are able to achieve those 12-foot lanes and the 5-foot shoulders. Here's another glance at some of the homes here. As we continue to the east, we come to the Branch Road intersection. So we did look at installing a roundabout at that intersection. That was something the folks that live along that road would like to see. There's significant challenges there because of the hillside on this side of the road, and also because of an existing bridge structure on Branch Road. We really just don't have the footprint to put a roundabout in at this location. But what we plan to do is widen out the road so we can have a left turn lane into Branch Road, and we have the ability to realign through some pavement striping the approach, the southbound approach. So along with some clearing at that intersection, I think we'll be able to improve the site distance and make the operations better for those people. So next, into construction operations. I'm sure this is something town of Swansea is very much concerned about. It's something we just started to vet as part of the project. We have looked at the bridge construction, and we believe we can keep one lane of traffic open at all times throughout the project. So there's no need to close Route 101 in its entirety. However, at sometimes we may need to have alternating one-way traffic, either controlled by police or temporary traffic signal. There may be a need to detour some people down Swanzey Factory Road, but we understand there's limitations to doing that because of the roundabout that's at the other end in Swansea that only has so much capacity. So it's not a solution for us to detour everyone off of Route 101. We do have Branch Road that may potentially be a detour for folks looking to go into the city of Keene, into the downtown. But it's something we continue to vet as we move into final design. Last thing I want to touch upon are some cultural and natural resource updates. So we did do a survey, an acoustic survey of the bats over the summer. We did find 2 species. We found the northern long-eared bat, which is listed as endangered. We also found the tricolored bat, which is proposed to be listed as endangered out here. So that will mean when we get into construction, when we get into construction, we'll have to put some limitations on when they can clear trees due to those bats being present. We did conduct an architectural survey for the roadway. Shown here in green are several buildings which we think have some historical significance. Right now, we've been trying to avoid impacts to these properties through our design. Those surveys are ongoing to determine essentially the roadways impacts. We also have the 2 bridge structures, which are Stone Arch Bridge, which is is on the National Register, and then the Branch River Bridge, which is eligible for the National Register. We did look at archaeological findings in the area. We did some on-site investigations. You can see we started with a rather large area shown here in the yellowish orange. That helped advise as to what we could do with Swanzey Factory Road, although ultimately the public pushed us into alternative 2 and away from many new bridge structures. So we didn't do a deeper dive into those locations, but we did do some GPR at 2 locations along the new Swanzey Factory Road alignment. One of those areas was shown as area 2, was along the Branch River. That essentially we did not find any archaeological findings being built in there along the Branch River. And then GPR in area 1, which is up where the roundabout is, we did find potentially through the GPR some buried remains from the former mill uses in the area. So during construction, we will have to monitor that and make sure that any archaeological findings are protected. With that, turn it to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so Alan mentioned the corridor and the constraints and our goal to enhance pedestrian and bicyclist accommodations. It's a challenge out there between the river residences and so forth. We are aware of the fatality that occurred just over a week and a half ago, which was to the west of our project limits. So we know that they're pedestrians, and so in working with the city of Keene and also the Southwest Regional Planning Commission, we feel that the 5-foot sidewalks are at least an enhancement, certainly not the most ideal situation, which would be sidewalks and or multi-use paths along that corridor. We haven't gone there. In addition to those discussions, we heard from JB Mack at the Regional Planning Commission that in the future, they're working to develop a metro transit, like an on-call transit operation there that folks that, want to transit in the area, either on 101 or even south into Swanzey area to some degree, would give that service a call, and they would come pick them up and they would transport them downtown. So we're aware of those challenges out there. There are some things in the works, and so we just want to share those with you folks as well, for awareness at the least. So the next slide talks about our continued efforts or required efforts as we address our NEPA, our National Environmental Policy Act. There are a lot of requirements that we have to go through and meet for that federal funding. And one of them is to identify the opportunity for folks in the public to be involved with the project as a consulting party. You can become engaged if you would like from an environmental perspective, specifically the natural or cultural aspects. And if anyone from the public would like to do that, you can let me know. And there's a process by which you'd have to reach out to the federal highway. I provide you that information, but there's a federal highway application process, if you will. But it provides folks that opportunity to become involved if they would like to. And again, if you would like to, you can certainly let me know, and I can work to facilitate that connection. So in wrapping things up, so from a project schedule perspective, we're really working to do our diligence out here in meeting with all the public, you folks as well. Complete our environmental requirements. One thing that we have to do is develop a draft NEPA document, which captures and highlights all of these environmental efforts that we've collected and completed, and get that in a draft form as we progress to a public hearing. Public hearing for us is a very big milestone. It allows us to have a formal meeting open to the public with a commission of 3 people that oversee it, the project that is, that public hearing, and with a goal of finding a necessity of for the project, right? That they would support the project, speak on behalf of the public after hearing their testimony relative to it. And so we're targeting that this summer. We've already started the process for it. Club Harbor CHA has done great work with us all to advance this project to that point. It allows us to go into the final design phase. Final design phase of the work, we're working to really nail down the drainage, the footprint of the project, develop our right-of-way plans, which then allow us to negotiate and identify impacts with individual property owners. Identify the impacts, the cost of those impacts to property owners, and negotiate with them, and develop those plans that we would then put out for bid for construction. Contractors would take those plans, bid on the contract, low bid contractor would be awarded the contract, and we'd be off to construction. So our final design efforts, we're targeting in the years of 26 and 27, and a construction effort starting probably in the spring of 27 itself as well. Right now, the project is targeted to be about a $17 million construction cost. It really hits on a lot of facets for that section of roadway, about 1.0 miles of roadway. Ellen talked about the removal of the concrete slab, which is deteriorating. That's almost 100-year-old concrete slab, and as you can imagine, that's deteriorating and working its way up to the pavement. So we have perpetual pavement improvement needs. The red listed bridge would be replaced. The safety at that Swanzey Factory Road intersection would be mitigated greatly with the shifting and that roundabout. So just a very, very impactful project, we feel, for that segment of Route 101. Kind of extending that improvement that happens 20, 30 years ago with that expansion to the west. So that's what we have for our schedule and our improved proposed project. And lastly here, I know the board has a hard copy of the slideshow. I'll send Mike a link to our website, and I'll also send you just in the interim a copy of it, electronic copy of it. But my contact information is here. You can reach out to me directly if you have any questions in the future as we progress. We do have a few more years as we complete our efforts to get to construction, and we'll have we'll have continued collaboration. We can even come back in the future and give another presentation as we As we work to firm up that construction operation, Ellen mentioned construction operation, which will be challenging. There's what, 12,000 vehicles a day?
Yeah, yep.
12,000 vehicles a day on this corridor. So with the narrowness, single lane operation of the roadway, the need to do full box reconstruction, which is, moving that concrete slab and digging down 3 to 4 feet and building it back up will be a challenge. It'll be a tedious construction effort. In addition to utility relocation, drainage construction, retaining wall construction, bridge construction. We expect it to be a 2.5 season construction operation. 2.5 seasons for New Hampshire for us means starting in April, getting through November, if we're lucky, into December of each year. So we're looking at probably at least 2.5 construction seasons to get that job done. So with that concludes our presentation, and open up for questions.
Bridge gonna look similar to this one, or what type of bridge is it, no?
So the bridge that is there today is a rigid frame structure, meaning a mass of concrete with if you look underneath, I don't know. On the front sheet, if you will, of the slideshow, if I'll go back there, you can see it is a beautiful bridge.
Yeah.
It has some stone fascia. Unfortunately, we're proposing a steel a girder bridge. So meaning it had a concrete deck with steel girders underneath. We haven't had the discussion yet with the resource groups, the natural resource agency groups, but we expect they'll ask us to reuse the stone fascia that's there. And the limitation or constraints we have with replacing the bridge in kind is the span. The span that we have to construct to now, which is a longer span across the river, won't allow us to use that same kind of bridge. So 100 years ago, almost 1933, they had, let's say, different, probably no rules and regulations relative to spanning the river. Now we have certain rules that require we span the river plus extra width. So that just doesn't allow us to put back the same type of bridges you have.
So this will be a lot wider than the ones there.
Both spanning the river, yes, and width along 101, yes, yeah. And as we replace the bridge, you folks travel this corridor, you probably are familiar with that, with the very poor sight distance.
Yeah.
If you're sitting on Swanzey Factory Road or even traveling on 101, it's a challenge. So we'll be improving both that sight distance along or from Swanzey Factory Road as well as along 101 to improve that geometry and that sight distance.
Any street lighting? Anything like that? Will they be wider shoulders?
No street lighting proposed, no.
I noticed up close to Branch Road, it's gonna split again. Did I see that? I'm following the road, did I see that? Does the road actually split again, like with something in the middle? Some parts of this road is split, right? Would be what's in the middle.
Yeah, so at Branch Road today, what you have is those two, one through lane each direction
Right.
and a wide shoulder. And so when somebody's sitting there wanting to make that left turn on the Branch Road,
Right.
folks are into that wider shoulder. So for us, we felt it was a better situation. Again, ideally it would have been a roundabout. That's what people ask for, but as Ellen shared, to the south of Branch Road, right opposite that side, there's a steep embankment, and at the top of that embankment is a business, landscaping business of some sort. So it didn't fit. So what we're doing is we're widening that roadway, and what you see in orange there is simply a painted island that will allow for that separation initially, and then to carve out that left turn lane to get those left turners outside of that through traffic lane, so to give them some an area just to get out of the area of reprise, if you will, to get out of that through lane, and not have you white knuckles sitting there wondering if someone's going to hit you from the rear end because you're in potentially their lane, if you will. So it's improved from that bypass shoulder situation that exists.
So this is solving a lot of problems, so it's just putting the road, roundabout.
It is. We've talked about the bridge, the pavement structure, the full box reconstruction. It'll really build it to a current
Nice.
roadway that will last for quite some time.
Right.
There'll be, what, 2.5 feet of select material below the pavement. That concrete will be gone, so it'll be a new roadway. Yes. Sir, yes.
Yeah, hi, Mark Scalera. I'm gonna, two things, I'm gonna say them as comments, whether you want to respond to them, it's fine. So the first thing is the Branch River, there's a diversion dam off of that feeds Wilson Pond, one of the two prized bodies of water in Swanzey. So during your construction, as well as what you construct, the bridge, and all that, you know, all we ask is that you make sure you're not doing anything to damage that water source, right?
Yeah.
The cancer the cement cancer is probably caused by road salt, okay, on that bridge. That's fairly common, unfortunately. So, you know, designing that bridge so it flows off of the bridge as opposed to into the water off the bridge is key to me. The second thing is having a circle there will likely increase the traffic on Swanzey Factory Road. There's a lot of residents there, actually continuing through the circle on Lake Street where I live, it's residents as well. And it's a narrow road as well, right? I do drive it quite often. How are you gonna handle that change? Because there are people that walk that road as well, and you're only addressing a part of Swanzey Factory Road, not all of it. And I don't know if there's weight limitations on that road, or not, there probably should be. If there isn't, you know, but yeah, it's not a wide road and it's gonna cause some problems for those residents.
Yeah, thank you for that. So a few things. I can certainly give some insight relative to all of the topics you brought up, Mark, right?
Mark.
So from a water quality perspective, during construction, the DOT has at least 1 to 2 people overseeing the construction on a daily basis. They're on site every day, addressing and overseeing the contractor operations, make sure that they're being compliant with the design intents, all the environmental rules and regulations, that they're not outletting, say, stormwater directly into the river. Certainly a resource that we're sensitive to.
Okay.
And so we also have oversight from our folks in our Bureau of Environment office, right, in the DOT, also that goes out and inspects all projects across the state to ensure even a higher level of compliance and conformance to those rules and regs, and that we're not fouling any of those resources. So hopefully that gives some relief to and appreciation for how we operate relative to those operations. So from an ASR perspective, that concrete cancer that Ellen mentioned, it is salt is certainly prevalent in New Hampshire. We certainly this time of year. We did find chlorides in the bridge.
Yeah, I did
We-
mention that.
Yes, we found chlorides in the deck as well. This alkali silica was a component that was added in at that time frame, the early 1900s. So that's there as well. Both of those led to the need to replace that bridge. So and so then you talked about the roundabout and the impact of Swanzey Factory Road. So certainly appreciate that that's a cut through today, and it connects to the roundabout on the south end at Route 12, and then ties into say South Keene, if you will, or takes you into Keene as you progress north. So we've been through that. I've been driven through there, appreciated the neighborhoods through there. I don't know if that'll make it easier. We find that there's a pretty heavy volume on there already, and surprisingly, folks that come from Route 12 even want to take a left out of Swanzey Factory Road and go into town that way. So I don't. It is it's a neat drive through there, because you can see that Stone Arch Bridge. We haven't modeled the impact relative to the introduction of the roundabout there. I think that the volumes will be very similar. And I think folks will find their way and along Swanzey Factory Road as they do today. They force themselves to make that left today, so.
Yeah, I do want to add, there is a truck restriction on Swanzey Factory Road in the town of Swansea. So as far as the noise being generated from trucks, that certainly shouldn't increase. there could be some folks that find that route to be more desirable, but generally folks headed up into Keene are continuing up to Main Street. So I don't think there'll be a significant shift. We did do a sensitivity analysis on the roundabout and we said, what if traffic on Swanzey Factory Road doubles, which I'm not saying it definitely won't double, but the roundabout still will operate just fine. So
Just that a road off a rotary is more obvious than we road off the normal road, right?
Yeah.
So,
Is there more traffic around the Rotary in Swansea than on 101? You said 12,000, right?
yeah, that's a good pop quiz question. I don't know off the top of my head.
It is higher.
It is, yeah,
Yeah,
I would think it is, because that's
about
even more
14,000.
additional connection.
14. Yeah, so you're expecting the load on that would be half of the 12,000?
We still have the 12,000 on 101, and then it's the load that's on Swansea Factory.
Got it.
How does the sewer pipe from Marlboro cross the river there? Is it under the bridge or is it
Under
across
the
the river?
river, it's to
Okay.
the north under the river, in the city of Keene will be replacing the water line. Part of the project, and we're trying to determine now if that will be on the bridge or if that will go on the river as well.
So fortunately, CHA is also doing the design for the city for the water and sewer. So
No sewer.
no sewer.
No sewer,
It's
no.
just staying. in-
Yeah.
Sewer is probably from
Yeah.
1980. It's probably
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
just water.
So the water line then, so that's great, you know, have that consistency. On the project, so. Sure, yes.
Yeah, Bob Moshier from East Swansea. Now, from approximately where the Graves Road is, heading east along, you got that steep bank that goes all the way over to the branch road. You're gonna have to cut into that to gain more road access.
We are to some degree, and you can see here, if I can make this pointer, so. In this area here. And then further to the east, we are cutting into that embankment to a certain degree. These larger green ouching of slopes or
Yeah.
green areas. Dictate or show that we're cutting into that embankment. And so, yes, we're aware of that. They're very close to the edge of pavement today, and they go up very abruptly. And so, yes, we'll be into those. Early on, we talked about and we heard from the public that the trees and those slopes actually prohibit sun getting in and hitting the roadway this time of year, right? So we talked with our maintenance folks and they said, oh yeah, it'll be much better when we clear that out. We do acknowledge the impact of the property owner. The property owners will be compensated for the impact. And it's likely that we'll seek an easement there so that we can maintain it in the future. So there are certainly some cuts along Route 101. And now if you go back one slide, how about the next slide? So similarly, when we relocate Swanzey Factory Road, Jay Blanchard's property does also rise up in grade pretty quickly here. So we're seeing a need for a rather significant impact and slope along Swanzey Factory Road on that east side as well. So, so we do have some slope impacts relative to the project. Yes.
Right. Now, that other roundabout that comes on to 101 is down by the old Cheshire Oil Company, or that's right where it is there. You're gonna be taking some of that property along with, I think there was an old stove shop there on the left, and then there's that gray building that Bill might be referencing to Jay's place. Jack.
I don't quite know where.
Convenience store.
Oh, the convenience store, yeah,
It's on the
Yeah,
corner of the roundabout.
you're right, yeah, that area is right here, if I'm following correctly. And so Mr. Blanchard's property is here, and I'll talk about these in detail in a bit here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Mr. Blanchard, Rob, who works with Ellen at CHA, and I met with Mr. Blanchard, his wife and his attorney in Keene, to share with them the impacts. And so if you can see it, the existing building that Jay owns is here. It's under the footprint of the proposed roundabout. We were very open with Mr. Blanchard and we shared the plans and the proposal. It was a constructive discussion, I felt. And we have a plan, if we can, to take that building and to shift it back onto Mr. Blanchard's property and give access off of either Swanzey Factory Road or 101 if we can do it. So it's a very conceptual alternative, but I know Mr. Blanchard would like to keep that facility. It is built on a slab on grade, so it could be somewhat readily picked up and moved. We'll have continuing discussions with Mr. Blanchard relative to that property there and the potential for that relocation as we progress. We've also had some very preliminary discussions with Miss Freeman, who is, of course, the wife to the owner, Ian Freeman, of that Moose Mart and the adjacent facility. Been working to communicate with Mr. Freeman. It's a unique situation that we're working through as we progress. What's unique about a few of these properties, Mr. Blanchard's, the corner of his building is within the right of way today. It built it 100 years ago when this was a yeah, it had a rail, yeah, so it's a history, you probably all know it well or better than I. This was the main trunk line for the rail system, and this was a spur that came in through here and serviced this area. It was a hub of industry, if you will, 100 years or so ago. Everything from chairs to, you know, wood products and so forth. It was a mill, as a matter of fact, John Graves' building is part of that facility, that mill that's there. He's got some components still of the mill building. And so, but back to the Moose Mart. Right now, a lot of their operations along the front of their building is also within the right of way. The right of way is about 7 feet off the front of their building, so it is a challenging situation. We are widening towards their building, so we have to appreciate their operations and what their plan is going forward before we identify any further solutions there for them. We are showing, for transparency, we are showing there's a small building. There's residents, the Moose Mart, and a small building just to the east of that. We are showing that being acquired because it would fall within the right of way. What the disposition of that Moose Mart will be is yet to be determined. I will vet that out with Mr. Freeman when we can connect with him. So that gives insight to the topic that was brought up. We have met with quite a number of folks out here. John Graves, John and Judy from Prime Rose. We've had meetings with the Monadnock Housing group. We've also met with the Key Mini Storage as well. So doing our diligence to share the projects and those impacts for those folks at the higher level, and anyone else that would like to have that discussion with us. But that's what we've done for diligence so far. Any other questions? Nice presentation. But thank you. All right, so I can leave this hard copy behind if anyone. I don't need another copy in my office. So appreciate the time tonight, and again, feel free to reach out with any questions. We'll respond and give you further insight as we progress.
Thank you.
All right.
Very nice to meet you. Good job, Alan. Very informative. Very interesting.
Yes.
That's got a long way to go.
Yeah, we do. I thought you'd been home with that too. Speak here.
The guy that owned
He is. I work very closely with him. I have worked with Ron for a number of years. Yeah, no, 30 years. Yeah.
He envisioned.
Yeah, he was used to play with public.
He wanted. That's what he's considering.
Yeah, the communities here really embrace the roundabouts. So many guys. Yeah, yeah, oh, it is, yeah, it is.
Yeah, you know. facility. From my desk. No. They could be hurt. Oh, yeah. We have more of this. Got graves. Houses, you know, that. Well, it's on like a little. Any questions on that? Here, no, we'll go to DPW Director Jones Russo.
Christian Hill Road. Pretty much. Sure, so what we're talking about, yeah, federally funded, project, so design has been progressing on the Christian Hill Village Bridge. And one of the suggestions for historic mitigation, because that bridge is considered historic, was consideration of adding streetlights similar to what we have on Main Street. We don't. Price and it's probably relevant anyway, but yeah, exactly. It's changed so much, but so wanted to gauge the board's interest on it. If you want us to get the prices, it would be a local cost, whereas the construction is federally funded, so this would be fully local cost. And
Are lights in general, or just the specific design?
lights in general, but these would be significantly more expensive because it's not just putting a fixture on a pole. You have the conduit.
And posts, so you're, it's approximately $400 to put a regular Eversource type street light up on a pole. But this would be specific like the ones out there that match up where you got conduit, you have posts. So it would be substantially more.
So is the question, A, doing lights, and then B, to match this?
Yes,
Because otherwise we wouldn't be doing lights.
yes.
Or you could put up a few, I think some streetlights would make sense if you could do it more cost effectively, just with the.
Some solar panels.
So the two questions here, are we gonna do lights and what kind of light? Is that what we're getting to?
Yeah, I think at the bare minimum would be some Eversource street lights for safety in that area, but we want to match it with Main Street, put up those, something very similar, match them.
So the wiring is gonna be the same.
No, because Eversource just put them up on telephone poles in the area. This would be a couple electrical conduit, wiring, posts. It would be substantially more, but the engineers haven't worked that in yet, because they didn't know which direction they were going to go. And that would, like I said, would be a local cost. And
The lights that we're talking about, they're right by here,
yeah,
and they go to the intersection and stop,
yeah,
that's the end, the
Yeah.
last post down by it.
It was the Main Street reconstruction project. So the time to do something like that, when everything dug up, so you wouldn't want to decide in 3 years if you want to put those lights up. So this is kind of the opportunity if it's.
But what I'm trying to get to, those lights don't go down,
No,
they
just
they hit the intersection, stop, and we wanna continue them up over the bridge.
not whether we want to or not, it was a suggestion.
Yeah, but what the suggestion, would that be up over the bridge and onto the other side?
Not my suggestion. The
Whoever's
suggestion,
suggestion.
a suggestion was yes, correct, to go up the bridge and probably the span of the project, the
I see.
intersection with Summer Street.
Well, I'm not understanding, but when we had, when
That's fine.
when you guys talked about this bridge, wasn't there a part of this bridge gonna be a walking section too?
That was an option. I mean, it's gonna have a sidewalk.
It's gonna have a
An
side,
option was considered at one point was just making it pedestrian.
yeah, so we know we're gonna need some kind of lighting if we're gonna have people walking, right?
I think it would be.
Yeah, we gotta have some kind of lighting. It's just the fact, how much do we wanna spend on it?
in the funding source.
And I don't think the electrical is gonna be that big of a deal because of the LED lights, right? I mean, it isn't like.
The
they're
cost,
gonna need
with the
huge
monthly
cables.
cost.
No, well, that and the installation.
The installation, like I said, without pricing out, you're gonna have poles, you're gonna have electrical conduit in the ground, it's gonna be a substantial amount. It's not gonna be like the Eversource $400 and they'll put a street light up on the telephone.
That's why I was wondering what this Main Street costs, because I remember that. You know, I think we bought the conduit because the road was dug up, threw it in at the same time, which we could do over there. I'd be in favor of the streetlight, with a solar panel on the top, on the south side of the bridge. You'd have some nice drop lights over the sidewalk and have the solar panel behind it. facing south.
Still be power for those, don't you?
Not really.
So this has to be answered, reason why now?
Yeah,
Like,
they're in the design, they're in the.
oh, so they need
yeah,
to design that they're gonna put the
yeah.
conduit under the
Yeah,
road.
or if we're just gonna do Eversource after the
And then
fact.
there's no, so when they design this, they're gonna say, oh, we're gonna dig up this road, the conduit's gonna work.
And then, like I said, then we have the other issue of the funding source, where it's gonna come from.
So the solar powered ones, those are out of pocket.
Yeah, any lighting would be out of pocket, yeah, the grant wouldn't cover any of that.
So is there a possibility of getting the three options considered? The Eversource option, the solar
Yeah, I
option,
mean,
and the continuation.
yeah, we could ask the engineer to look at that, but the Eversource is just simple, we just do that on our own and have the lights after. the
So we
fact.
know what that number is,
Yeah.
it's just based on the number of poles.
Yeah, how many we
And
wanna put out.
$400 a piece.
Yeah,
So could we look at the other two?
yeah,
Is it relative? Is it extreme? Is it a lot of hours to
I
put
don't
into
think
that?
so, but it's gonna be more than the engineers will have to do as part of the project.
I think they were expecting us
To do it on the lights they want.
they were asking us to go back and look at the. I'm trying to see if we had that broken out on the bid specs or not.
On Main Street.
Yeah, which again.
Where do these light posts start, the bridge?
Yes.
You go to the bridge to the intersection.
And at the intersection, there's a regular street light on a pole, LED. So not quite all the way to the intersection.
I think it looks great right here. I don't know how far we're gonna go with it. I don't think we need to. Personally, but.
If you look at it, and rule it out as opposed to ignore it, get blamed afterwards.
He's looking at them, but I would, just a guesstimate, I don't know how much the pole's gonna be, but electrical conduit has gone through the roof since COVID, it's substantially more. And then the work and time to do it, I think it's gonna be north of 25 grand, I would guess, depending on how many lights we put up.
Found the bid specs and it was an alternate, so the Pat Rawson, which was the contractor we went with to do all of Main Street. Was 61,000 in 2016.
Just for the streetlights, just for the streetlights,
In
61.
And that includes the
2016,
poles, right?
Well, yeah, the poles and the pole.
Yeah, so you gotta count all the poles.
So granted, we wouldn't be doing as much as that, that's why, like I said, I was putting a rough without knowing the cost, I would guess a minimum of 20,000, but it would be substantially less poles than Main Street, but we'll try to come up with something for more accurate, but I would guess somewhere in that $30,000 range.
And then where would the funding come from?
I don't know if the town bridges capital reserve fund would count or not.
The only one thing I caution you, the covered bridges. We have more decking to do, more painting to do, the alarm systems, the covered bridges have a lot of work coming out, the cameras. They have a lot of work coming out, so I would caution using it from that.
you know, my thought about it, I think we should just go to basic lighting right now. We've got bigger things ahead of us and. I'm grateful for the bridge to go in and looking nice. I don't think it's gonna be that noticeable over there for that kind of money. That's just.
I can do some research to get a more accurate number, but like I said, that is a question.
Makes sense.
And while we're on streetlights, Perry Lane, I know we've had some conversation about the streetlights on Perry Lane, or everybody knows. There are approximately 8 or 9 streetlights down there that do not function. Those used to be paid for by the association down there. The association went away, approximately how many years ago did the association
It was
go?
2017, 2018.
And somehow those streetlights wound up on the town register. Those streetlights are not working, so they're not drawing any power. And Eversource was contacting us to see what we want to do. One of the options is to remove them, and they will remove them for free. Otherwise, replace them at approximately $400 a piece. And then obviously the town would be paying the electric on them.
With LED. So,
With our, with LED, yeah. But I suggested to the board, we have numerous developments in town that are, not numerous, but we have developments in town that are very similar to the Perry Lane area, and they do not have 9 streetlights on them. So it's a question of whether we want to spend the money, and we want to spend the money going forward to pay the electric on it. But nobody really seems to understand how they want up on the town's register. I was sort of assumed that when the association went away, somebody put them on the town register.
Do you know if they're not working because they're broken, or do you think they're not working because the power was shut off to them?
No, the power's not shut, they're just broken. They're old, and they need to be replaced, and I don't know how long they've been out for. Nobody's complained about it, it's just Eversource doing their inventory brought it to my attention.
Has anyone talked to Cordell? From a legal perspective on it, since we don't know how it ended up on the town register. I would just think it would be prudent to draft a letter to the residents there, letting them know that absent an association that's paying for the streetlights, we're gonna take the lights down. No obligation to them, no obligation to the town. I just wouldn't wanna see us take them down and then find out afterwards, oh, we were supposed to be doing it. Cause I agree with you, it's a condo association. If it was public residences, then I might feel differently, but under their condo docs, those lights must be covered. If they disbanded their association, that's on them.
So we can talk to Cordell about that.
I think it would be advisable, just so we don't end up in a fight later.
So why don't we finish it with, when he gets his answer back, we're gonna eliminate him, and give Joe the okay, if it's,
Yeah.
Cordell says. It's nothing to do with us, but I do agree, we should notify them. We should let the people know.
Condo association's probably still there, it's just the village district that went away. Yeah, to Perry Lane Lady District.
Yeah, maybe we can just contact
There were
them.
tax implications that, like the North Swansea water, right, so.
I mean, what if they have something in the works right now that we don't know about, that they're gonna refire them up and they're, you know?
Teresa
Good
said, I
point.
thought the association wasn't active at all anymore, but I can research that a little bit.
Oh.
I think it's gonna be
You know how
about,
they can't be with a condo.
I don't know.
Usually they have to have
Gotta
some
be
kind
in
of
the
board.
deeds.
Definitely in the deeds. Should be condo docs referenced in it.
Josh,
Maybe the town got the whole property.
Josh used to live down there, and he didn't know anything about it, so.
Mike, you know anything about that over there, since you were neighbors with them?
Oh,
Do you have any
I'm a long ways from.
Not you, Mike Devaney.
Like here. What's the question again?
About those streetlights, I thought you were saying something about the streetlights.
Do you know if the condo association is still active?
Right,
I don't know that. Gary Tippett would know that though, because he's the one that set it up. Picture builders.
I think Sly's right, there must have been a separate, or there might have been a separate district for the lights, because the association's gotta be active, they were responsible for.
Well, that's-
They were precinct, and it was a holdup every year.
I'm just saying in general, as Mike said, that the association must still be operating because they're responsible for service. And within the association, but Sly may be right with regard to the lights, it was a separate
Yes, the light,
district.
I think the lights are clearly not right away on the road.
The road is a town road, out through the association.
Yeah, it's just, and the lights are in the right of way. But is it safe to say it's the board's
Opinion that if they want street lights, it's gonna be their responsibility. Okay. We'll work with Cordell on that and I'll do some more digging.
and I think it's the board's opinion, if Cordell says there's no problem, you wanna have them removed for nothing. We should just give permission to say remove
And if they wanna keep them, we gotta get them switched back on their register and.
Correct. them. Right.
And then the only other issue I have, Municipal, we sold some old equipment recently, we sold a 2008 Ford F-550. The gentleman out of Connecticut, the old international dump truck, maybe I was too optimistic and I started the bid at 10,000, I didn't get any bids. After the fact, Gordon Services offered 7,000 for it, if the town was willing to take and trade for equipment and materials. With $7,000 credit, and it's an old truck with a lot of rust, it has a very good powertrain, but The prices on them used are kind of all over the place, but usually they draw bids on municipal bid and did it.
How long's it been on there?
It was on there for 3 weeks.
And we got nothing
Nothing
at 10,000.
at 10,000 there. So they
Picture on there too and everything.
Oh, yeah, all the information. So
How
they
many
are
miles on it?
90,000. Powertrain's good, but a lot of rust.
So
So,
on that, and do your part.
so they are.
Come with the block.
It does.
Just the dump work?
Put farm plates on it.
$12,000, get you in it today.
Do we have a lot?
7,100.
It's best to get.
Dump truck, plow. And it doesn't.
Does the plow come with it?
Yeah. No, so
You need a backhoe, too.
so the options would be to enter into that with Gordon or repost it for a lower price.
Goes for 5,000, yeah.
So the offer from Gordon would be helpful for the highway for equipment rentals and materials. Helpful with the projects.
The other department head. What do you suggest?
I recommend it. Gordon's been really good to us and they, as you know, they give us really good prices, so it would definitely help me to have more. For material and such, especially with some of the sidewalk extensions we're gonna be looking to do this year and needing certain pieces of equipment to do it. That's my recommendation.
I don't know.
Consensus,
You agree?
unless you want it.
You wanna negotiate between the two parties, whatever's best for DPW. At the time. We know the floor is set.
Yeah.
You guys already voted, good.
Oh,
That's it.
we're, oh,
I think you want it.
Huh?
I think you-
I'm not thinking about that, I'm just sort of hoping that we're getting, value for the truck.
Yeah, I
That's
think-
all, it just seems awful cheap for a truck, you know?
Yeah, like I said, I think I was.
It's hard for me to,
Yeah.
you know, I know what I buy for vehicles out, this is a dump truck, I mean.
I was, like I said.
I'm just hoping we held on enough, do we give it enough opportunity, that's
Is
all. I'm
it
saying.
still on there at 10?
No, the bid ended, and I looked, there were some in similar condition for 5,000 or 6,000, people were asking, didn't mean they sell, they
Right.
sold. But then there are other ones, they were asking $15,000-16,000, but not saying they sold. I thought 10, that's why I started that 10, I thought that would be.
I would thought you'd go low there, Joe, to be honest with you, I thought that would be a low number,
10,
10,
yeah.
I was always surprised.
And I sold quite a bit on municipal bid, and usually they get.
Always
they-
get like
they-
double.
Oh, it's only been 100,000 miles.
It's not about the
But
miles.
it's about the rust and
How about if he puts it on again for 10 or 9? And if it doesn't, he makes his best deal.
What's the period of time?
Like, is 3 weeks like a standard thing for me?
Are you in the need to, is Gordon need it now?
No, they were kind of doing us a favor by it, I don't think it's something they're really.
My suggestion is just give it a little more time and then give Joe the permission.
Or how about we just put it on, started on municipal bid at 7,000, and if nobody bids on it, they can bid on it, and that way there, it gives other people a chance to bid it up if they want, but. We usually put stuff on municipal bid, and it usually gets a lot of bids and sells.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we didn't give enough time, I'd be more satisfied if we gave a little more.
I'll repost it for $7,000 then.
What you say, Russ?
And I have no problem taking it in trade.
You'll take it?
No,
No, Gordon,
the labor.
Yeah, that works well, we're out for us, but, yeah. It's like I said, no rush, it's been sitting and it needs to go.
Give it another 3 weeks, yeah.
And then the other thing is, we know about the board, we had another accident, not DPW driver's fault, but video cruiser was hit by somebody as he was crossing the intersection down here on California Road. That truck's out of commission right now, but the other operator was found at fault for the accident, so working on prime.
that's twice, huh?
Twice in a week, yeah.
And we got hit in the back,
First one was hit in the back, this one was hit in the front end and the door,
damage,
oh yeah.
both time insurances.
The other person had insurance, yeah. Took responsibility, they know they messed up, but
Big dump truck? Oh, small, where do you, whatever.
Pick up on the plow, yeah. Wasn't related to plow.
Can you still use it? Oh, you didn't even drive the ball, no. Wow.
You have time to shovel this weekend?
So how do you operate now? We lost the truck now?
Yeah.
So we're
We're
down
gonna
to
try and get it back up and going as soon as we can, but we're gonna make do without.
yeah, because we got storms coming for you, you're gonna be out there, huh?
He's heard they're coming.
You're only kidding with you, Jeff.
It's like you already left, he's taking the ball and running with it.
Yeah, you know, when it snows, like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, Mike and I talk on the phone on a regular basis. He gets a lot of input as far as what we do and when we do it.
I'll check my messages today.
I know you live.
He's gonna have me in the truck, you watch. I'll be sitting in there, to my coffee.
That is all I have.
The only, just real quick, you and I talked about it, but, the next dam to do is Swanzey Lake Dam. And so DES hasn't started putting pressure on us, but I think it'd be good to try to get maybe an RFQ out there to select a design engineer to start studying that and developing, solutions to address deficiencies. So just would be an issuing an RFQ and trying to get that process started before I leave.
Good thinking.
Nobody would offer.
What do we have for time limit on fixing that? How does that work?
We're a bit overdue our last correspondence, I believe, but we've been making, they want you to make good due diligence and we've checked off 2 of the dams, so. I think the next letter, they'll just send us a letter and we'll just update the schedule, so.
And if we tell them that we're,
Yeah,
Working
if
on
we
the
tell them
design
they
and
issue an
process
RFQ,
movement.
they'll be happy. They're very easy to work with. If you tell them.
It is good. Still have 2 weeks to change your mind.
I will cut that.
Getting close. Right,
We
here
did
under
cut-
number
we did
7,
cut it.
consideration of new business, town administrator changes his mind.
Leave before we think of something. He's gotta get to bed.
But yeah, that one.
Oh, yeah, you gotta go out tonight.
So what's the plan? 3 in the morning, salt the roads, get ready?
Depends if it turns to ice, or if it comes down as ice right away, let's cut the salt right away. If it just snows at first, which I hope so. We'll leave the snow on the road and salt in the morning, we won't plow the roads until the freezing rains done.
So where did this set our salt budget now at? Cause we cut it before this all started, now you're using the shit ton of it.
Using
A lot of it.
using a significant
Oh,
amount.
well.
That red light.
We had some left over from last year, so that's pretty helpful. But in the middle, before things got crazy, there was the back of the salt bin had never been cleaned out. So I communicated with the salt company and said, listen, on short notice, I'm gonna need some salt because we gotta have to clean out all the old wet clumpy stuff that just been in the back.
That's after years.
Yeah, so we emptied the thing and then of course, right about when I got it emptied is when it started and.
Right.
Bear Truck was great about delivering right away, but we got a pretty good stockpile in there now, we're doing okay on the budget, but. Part of that was, we had a pretty good surplus from last year to start with.
When I was down visiting you, do you have more in there than what I saw? Now?
Yeah, there's probably 400 ton in there. And each time we go out, we use anywhere from 35 to 40, 45 sometimes.
And then we'll have it, leave it there during the summer, whatever you have left
Yeah.
over, right? Just sits
Yeah.
there.
But it had never been cleaned out and now it's cleaned out and yeah, hopefully it doesn't keep going like it has been. Yeah, like I said, when we had those cold road, salt gets down under, once it gets down under 20 degrees, the salt just does not work. It doesn't get the traffic like the state roads. State roads all have the open, not the tight canopies that we have. So I know we were getting criticized back when it was real cold for some of the icy roads, but we were putting the salt right to it.
So all this sand that you got for us, when did you use that? After you salt? How does that work?
Dirt roads, and then when it was really cold and the salt wasn't working, we were mixing it in with the salt. We try not to use salt too much on the paved roads because it makes a mess with people's lawns and, but when. Sand, yeah, sand, but when it.
And we mix it down there.
Yeah, but we try not to use the sand on the paved roads. But when it's real cold and the salt's not working, then you gotta use sand. But the sand is used on all the dirt roads and then,
Why don't you like to use sand on the paved roads? What is the problem?
It makes a mess. It makes a mess on people's properties and it's not very effective. The cars blow it off. You go put sand on, like Matthews Road was icy when it was frozen. You could go put sand on that, 2 hours later, you wouldn't recognize that it was sand, cars just blow it off. But because of wash wells in the area of Centerview, there's 3 or 4 paved roads that do get sanded. You can't put salt there, but it's primarily salt on the paved roads, dirt on the sand on the dirt roads.
Wilson Pond's hoping for a little more sand, a little less salt.
I
For
think,
water quality.
I think the state has us far beat with 32 and Route 12. We could stop using salt at all on Wilson Pond, and I don't think you'd see a difference. They salt 6-7 times to our 1 or 2.
Tell them to.
So we don't go around Wilson Pond.
The backside of Wilson
Backside.
Pond, there's one road we salt, but you have Route 12 and 32. And the state
they salt significantly more. They'll salt every 2 hours during a storm, and all that runoff winds up in Wilson Pond. Wow. We don't.
Low salt area every 2 hours, make the state cut it out, I can vouch for that.
Every 2 hours.
Yeah.
There have been times that there was a rainy day. Remember when James Ward and I were having a conversation about the salting on Wilson Pond? There was a rainy day last winter that never got up over 40 degrees. I never salted, and the state salted no less than 4 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, what they use for salt, what we use is
Okay, you gotta
completely different.
They replace a lot of lights because of that.
They do.
That area, low salt. Area. Wilson Pond was about, and they, yeah, and petition the state to put this on low salt area. They do it in other places.
Who would we talk to on that? Could it be Frank?
I think it would be Frank,
Jimmy will give you his number.
but I'm not sure how receptive they're gonna be. Like I said, we've got a major
Well, they'll fight it, but DES will
32, yeah.
be a proponent.
But they do, yeah, and DES is obviously a proponent, but they use a lot of salt, like not even in the same realm as we do.
But we'll work on that. And I'll be sitting over there watching you guys act on it. Oh, great.
You'll be here on March 14th. I mean, what's going on with that low salt there?
It's a double, I mean, the backside of Wilson Pond, if it was decided that you want to salt it anymore and sand it. Not gonna bother me, but you're gonna get complaints from people about the ice on the road. It's that simple. There'll constantly be ice, but it wouldn't change the way we do things much. But like I said, just keep in mind that us making that change is literally gonna make minimal, if any, difference compared to how much all that runoff from the state highways.
They do put it down.
They do, but they're obviously, their winter operation plan is a lot different than municipal. We do what's pretty consistent with other municipalities. But they're obviously have a lot bigger liability on the state roads with the higher speeds to try to keep them as safe as possible.
Amazing.
We had it pretty good the last couple of winters where we weren't using hardly any salt. This winter's a more traditional one.
We did it, as soon as we said, let's take some salt on it.
You guys took my money and
That's, they took your money and now it's like, oh yeah, fixes. So, yeah. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks.
Good job, Joe, as usual.
Good luck tonight and tomorrow.
One reason why I don't want you to think about my reason for that.
So remember the beepers, you can give me a beeper and I'll
Oh,
check
no,
my
I-
beeper every.
You'll hear the
8 hours.
beeper.
Call a horn.
It's called a backup alarm on the truck when it pulls into your driveway.
Tell Tracy where.
You didn't know what you were getting into with that. And I might talk all the time, 2, 3 in the morning.
I stay up to stay up all night. He needs consulting and.
Then it's at
You
the
gotta share
office at
them.
8:30 every morning.
You guys are so funny.
Have a good night.
Bye, Joe. Have a great day.
Thanks, Joe.
Town administrator job description and posting.
So Alex Kirby is on Zoom with us.
Oh, good.
Hi, Alex.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me.
Try that again.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Stand by.
Standing by.
Taking notes, Jacob?
Right. Like 13 minutes there, huh? Yeah, I bought it,
I'm thinking darn sure they don't get any closer to the end.
Growing up, my mother, my nana, Carrie, she used to make just, you ever have just peppers and eggs? She used to make subs, peppers and eggs sub with cheese.
Oh, yeah.
She'd fry them up with the nice bell peppers, right? Peppers and eggs, simple. Right, a little salt and pepper.
That was a western, right? Because eastern. What's I?
We used to eat this.
My
It's
dad's
sub shop, Italian sub shops would sell pepper and egg subs, you know their menu.
Are you able to join the Zoom on your laptop from different account? I don't know if I can boost speakers anymore over here.
I know my dad called peppers and onions a western force.
Potatoes and eggs, peppers and onions.
What was that? Potatoes?
Potatoes and eggs, peppers and onions. Eat the sub. And if the oil isn't dripping down your elbow, you don't want it.
That's right. That's the most important part.
You will,
Now with the olive oil.
you will crave that every 6 months.
You're right, and it was something that you knew was being gonna be for dinner, a quick dinner.
Where did you get that?
Like you buy in delis and places in very.
Really?
It's famous stuff. And that's what I'm gonna make with that right there.
The other thing is.
I got some extra
pork,
rich,
egg
you know.
and cheese sandwich.
What kind of?
Pork, egg and cheese.
Pork roll?
Rich on,
Callahan, pork roll.
over by the Salvation Army. The Whistling Pig,
Yeah.
he does that pork roll
Does he?
sandwich, yeah.
You. I literally grew up in pork stock there, Franklin, New Jersey.
What is?
Should I turn off the mic maybe?
It's. I'm
We're gonna
say
create
it's
like an
Canadian
echo
bacon,
situation?
Yeah, put mute yours.
but it's different. It has a flavor that just.
Voice clear over
It's
there.
called pork roll.
Like Jim seems pork roll.
Jim's meat market has, they cut it too thin. Somebody invite you over for a breakfast thing?
Gluten free.
Not as good as Scott.
That's pretty awesome stuff.
I didn't even say it.
Not as good as Swanzey.
That's all three. That's.
It's all just like echo.
Okay, I'll call on your phone.
You try it now.
Got one that is special, right? Right?
Hello.
Nice, right?
Technology great?
It sure is. Well, I was good to not. It cut out at a certain point. You guys were talking about different food and just making me hungry. So.
That was the refreshment hour. All right, so got the job description updated and sent out a few hours ago, it's around noon, I think. Do you have anything you want to summarize, Alex, or?
Yeah, I mean, just the overall. I mean, I don't think that we changed anything super substantial. You know, I sent a couple questions around that Michael filled out, just trying to make sure that the job description is accurate and representative of the day-to-day functions. You know, as we know it is today. So we did move a few things around. A little bit more organized and I feel pretty good about this, but we're open to any sort of edits or feedback And then I can give a little bit of an update on kind of the timeline, next when we get to that.
In fairness, I didn't read it, I didn't see it. So I don't have any comment.
You can take a look at what it's going, but it
Yes.
looks drastically misstated or by the end of the week, right, Alex? That's what we're
From
hoping.
the knowledge that I have, I thought it was great. I thought it was understanding. I understood everything. I thought it was really good job.
You could have been reading it instead of talking about sandwiches.
I could have.
I mean, for anything, I would think it would scare people away. I'd be like,
There's a lot
every
of
time I read, I was like, oh my God, they're responsible for that too. Oh my God, that too. Oh, that too.
What was that, Alex?
I said there's a lot of bullet points, that's for sure.
Yeah, Alex, for sure. But I think
still
we hit
think-
them all.
You still think we're gonna get 20 to 25?
Well, and for every bullet point we add, we reduce. No, I'm kidding.
That's right, Alex.
I think this is pretty standard for most of the town administrator, town manager job descriptions that I've seen. So I think we're pretty on par. And yeah, basically from a schedule perspective, the hope I'm going to be down on Friday in town hall. And the hope is that we can finalize the job description and then incorporate the job description language into a profile. I know I'll be meeting a little bit with Michael and I think hopefully Bill as well on Friday. And depending on the timing and where we're at with everything, the goal would either be to actually post the job on Friday or on Monday. So I know you all wanted to move quickly on getting the posting out there. And with help from Michael and a little bit of work in the last week, I think we're going to be in pretty good shape to get this going. Yeah, either on Friday or on Monday to get that first posting live.
Was Megan able to become engaged on this?
No,
No,
she was back today and has been working remotely a few days. She was in the office part of today, but she had enough other more pressing matters, so, but no, I think she's planning on participating on Friday when he's in town.
great.
Yep.
But her absence is not slowed down getting it done by next week. It's taken, other things might have suffered, but it hasn't, I don't think we've let that slow us down really.
Good. I'm good.
I'll get back to you in the morning. I'll be it tonight.
Thank you, Alex.
Okay. All right. Thank you all.
Anything else you need from the board at this point?
No, I think that's it. I think on Friday, again, the goal will be to finalize the job description and hopefully finalize or get pretty close to finalizing the profile that the job description will be incorporated into, or a summary of the job description, not the whole thing. All of that will then get ready to go posted on the Swanzey website, as well as a separate website that I've created to also host all the documents, just to make it easier for people to find. And so that will be swanseynhta.com. That and on the Swanzey website, people will be able to find the same information. So try to make this as accessible as possible for people to find. And I think my guess is that this will all be out and live on Monday. And then I can update you all and we can talk a little more about next steps from there. So I'll see a couple of you on Friday.
Great.
Right.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Have a good one.
Thank you. You too.
Good job getting that together as quickly as you did.
He didn't have anyone to, sorry, why?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Alrighty, administrative, consideration of old business. The caterer.
I did You guys put me on that and I reached out to her a few times and finally she didn't recognize my number. So I kind of left a message and she called me back and she has a food truck. Great food. She parks in Keene sometimes. What she's looking for is a place to come here, make baklava, different types of food that she doesn't have an oven for. She would be using our gas in our oven. So she's very green on a lot of these things. When I talked to her, because I asked her about inspection of this kitchen, she was like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, you can't cook food unless you have a commercial kitchen. And she says, but I have my truck. I says, yeah, but you're cooking the food here. And I told her that we need to get Rob, which is the health inspector, to come here with her. And she's gonna have to pay to make sure this is approved for a commercial kitchen. It's gotta have the right sinks and the right thing, so we can legally rent that out to her, you know? And she said, I'm gonna look at it. She called me back and says, you are right, Jimmy. And I said, okay. So I suggested that I'd like to be here for that inspection and her. And I says, and I'm gonna leave it to you to set it all up. You call the food guy, you tell me when you're gonna be here, when you wanna get in, I'll come in. And we'll do it properly, and then if the kitchen gets approved, then you can negotiate with Katrina about the rent and all that, because I have no part of that. I just want to make sure we're legal to have you come in here. And I did say you'd have to leave, would have to take inventory of what we own, and you'd be responsible to leave the kitchen just the way you found it. You know, you can't be bringing your stuff in and leaving it, and we can't have no confusion. And she agreed to that 100%. And then she told me, oh, and I know you, Jimmy, you don't know me. And I said, oh, really?
Nice job.
And I said, I don't, and she says, yeah, I come in your restaurant all the time. And I go, oh. So I said, well, when the next time you're in, introduce yourself. So I haven't met her yet. But she was very nice about, we just gotta do it. I knew we'd have to have it inspected.
Do we have a 3-bag?
Well, we don't. But he might let it slide. It depends what she's gonna actually do. She has to tell him how she's gonna go about, you know, because, you know, she left him and poisoned somebody with food or traveled with it, you know, it's gotta simple, you know. So she agreed to everything and she said, thanks for all your help, and she's gonna call me at the beginning of April when she's gonna start the food truck up. And I asked her to teach me how to make baklava. And she makes it. And she does some other some crazy dishes, because I'm doing a big break, 500 people at the sneaker ball in YMCA, and that's what, it's all Greek food. I gotta do great leaves, and I gotta do, what's that big piece of meat that you shave? Gyro meat. Yeah, so I'm learning all about that.
Donor, right?
Yeah, comes in a cone you can buy.
Yeah.
So I got a guy coming, salesman coming with all the Greek stuff, tzatziki and all that stuff, and the grape. And I didn't know you could eat those grape leaves cold.
Yeah.
You gotta hang out with people who eat food.
I do all the time, but I'm not Greek. I don't eat grape leaves.
Moussaka, pistachio.
Added menu.
Souvlaki.
Yeah. Yeah, they got some good food, so I've been looking it up for this job I gotta do. So that's all in the works, Michael.
So the ball is in her court.
The ball's in her court. She's gotta get a hold of me, and I will be here for the inspection to make sure it's all properly done. I'll get the right paperwork, so we have it on hand, and we'll go from there. Okay.
Administrative update. Nothing at this time. Correspondence. Yes. Public input.
Big night like this, you guys got enough cars? We're gonna have 3 selectmen out there.
Possible.
Oh, I was gonna ask about, item 3C.
Too late.
Employment agreement with Joe Gonsalves. That, has that been done or?
Right? I mean, we signed it.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
You have those meetings in non-public. But then the actual
Oh, okay.
contract is.
Yeah, okay.
Part of the public.
It's a good transition, and we do have one.
One non-public?
Under, C reputation.
I'll make a motion, we go to non-public, I can see it was out.
Second.
Good job, guys.
I'm getting hungry and.
Thanks for coming out.
I'll go see Tracy. I'm here.
Thank you, Gary.